We also got another email here. This comes from, okay, they didn't sign off on this. Okay, but we're gonna read this. It says, it starts off, do you hate being a black man? I mean, well, first of all, because that's crazy, but also, let me just go ahead and read this. I've noticed that you have a tendency to come after black men who don't buy into this feminized way of thinking about the world. Okay. All right. I can tell where this is going. Seems like every week there's a new black man to tear down. Ice Cube is your latest target, but you come at Terry Crews, Killer Mike, Chris Rock, T.I., Dave Chappelle, Dr. Umar, Tariq Nasheed. I mean, damn, man, I could go on. So I guess my question is what is it about being a strong black man that speaks to our people that bothers you so much that you would attack your brothers when they really want what's best for our people? What's Ice Cube's crime really? Telling black people to ask for something in exchange for their vote? What's the crime in that? Shouldn't we be doing like the LGBT folks that you paid so much? That you paid so much? Do you demand? Okay, that you paid so much and demand something for their votes? Barack Obama got them gay marriage, but he couldn't do nothing for black folks. All right, so first things first.
What the fuck is wrong with you? You crazy?
So here's the thing. I'm gonna need y'all to stop saying stupid shit like that. And the reason why I'm gonna need y'all to stop saying stupid shit like that, because it's intellectually, first of all, it's just not true. It's just not true. Barack Obama did not get the LGBTQ community gay marriage. That's not how that played out. The Supreme Court is what got you gay marriage, so to speak, or same-sex marriage. That's how that came to be. Barack Obama did not give the gay community gay marriage. He did not give the LGBTQ community gay marriage. That happened through the Supreme Court, which ironically has a conservative bent. Even at the time when that decision was being made, there were more conservatives on that court than there were liberals on the court. So, like, y'all need to disassociate that talking point with Barack Obama got gay people the right to marry, but he ain't do shit for black folks. Like, that's just not how that happened, period, man. So how does that make sense? I don't blame people for not wanting to vote for Hillary Clinton. She called black men super predators while pushing the 1994 crime bill, and then the Democrats didn't seem to learn their lesson and nominated the guy who wrote that shit. Okay, so here's the other part about that too. Hillary Clinton at the time, I know, like, that's a real big talking point for a lot of you. Hillary Clinton was the first lady of the United States at the time. Hillary Clinton had no legislative power whatsoever when that 94 crime bill came to pass, right? She had no legislative power whatsoever. Now, your beef with Joe Biden, although a valid one, Joe Biden did write the 1994 crime bill. Also, Joe Biden also wrote the legislation that Bernie Sanders was promoting, which was the Violence Against Women Act. That was also included in the 1994 crime bill. Also, Republicans overwhelmingly supported that legislation. So if we're going to talk about this, we need to talk about this shit honestly. We need to talk about this with the context that it deserves. Also, like I said repeatedly on this show, if you've been watching for any length of time, especially you seem like you have, if you're going to like list all these black men that I've torn down. Also, black people were asking for that legislation in 1994. It is a really good book. I would suggest you guys read it. It's called Locking Up Our Own by James Foreman Jr., who kind of goes into the history of a lot of this shit, how a lot of these mandatory minimum laws came to pass, how a lot of the legislation around drugs and drug usage came to pass, how the mere idea of legalization of even a drug like marijuana, which everyone seems to be it seems very popular now to like legalize marijuana on both sides of the aisle. But back in 1994, that wasn't the case. That was like shit, damn near 30 years ago now. So like for those of us who were like there in 1994, who can remember this shit, who can go back and like and also take the time to like read up on it. Like, yeah, man, like it is not as cut and dry as some of you would like for it to have been. All right. But yeah. Also, he writes in to say, they didn't learn their lesson and nominated the guy who wrote that shit. They didn't learn from the last time. And let's not go into Clinton and the Democrats giving us NAFTA. Again, factually incorrect. Factually incorrect. As a matter of fact, Republicans, as George H.W. Bush, the first Bush president, is actually who gave you NAFTA. But also, Like in the House of Representatives and in the Senate, Republicans by and large supported that legislation. All right, Republicans, as a matter, let me go ahead and pull this up. So for you guys in the chat, you can see right along with me where this came. Like we get this from the Washington Post. It says Bill Clinton was certainly a supporter of NAFTA who pushed approval through Congress, but it was negotiated and signed by President H.W. Bush. Here's a photo. They got pictures of this shit. So let's pull up the picture of George H.W. Bush signing NAFTA in the law, man. Sign the NAFTA in the law. George H.W. Bush. Here's him signing it right here. All right. So they got pictures of this shit too. But it says NAFTA was a successor to the Free Trade Pact with Canada. Bush had viewed NAFTA as a political opportunity and achievement for his re-election campaign. He initialed the deal on August 12, 1992, before the GOP convention, and then formally signed it in December of 1992 after he had lost the election to Clinton. So even while y'all are talking about Clinton gave you NAFTA, that ain't how that happened. That's not how that worked. Republicans, by and large, were supportive of that NAFTA legislation. So come on, man. If y'all gonna have these conversations, get your fucking facts straight, bruh. And be that as it may, like it's weird that like y'all would sit up here and talk about like, yo, like, you know, NAFTA and the crime bill, forgetting how the legislature and the landscape of that was back then. Like even Republicans then don't vote the same way they vote the same way that they vote now, man. Like that context, y'all tend to get lost. Like the context is lost on y'all. Everything is fucking black and white for some of you, and you don't really understand all of the shit surrounding how those things came to be. Also, he says, and let's not get into Clinton and Democrats giving us NAFTA, which took tons of jobs away from the U.S. You know, we just explained how that shit happened. Just look at where you are in Michigan. How's that auto industry looking now that a lot of those cars are now being made in Mexico? Well, I guess we can blame the Republicans for that since we now know how NAFTA came to be. But also, a lot of the jobs that left here in Michigan, they tended to go down south, right? So there are a lot of auto plants in the South, but those auto plants aren't necessarily unionized. So what happens is the workers in the South who are making the same cars that the workers in the North would make, they're making less money than they would had they been able to unionize. But Republican legislatures will, for one, support right to work legislation, which would depress those workers' wages, and also they kind of like discourage workers from collectively bargaining on their own behalf. And truthfully speaking, for a lot of those workers, the money that they're making right now is really good money, probably the most money they've ever seen. And the idea that they could make more money, or like they've scared these people into believing that if they negotiated or if they unionize, and then like the plant is just going to pick up and leave, right? Because they want to go where the people are going to be paying the least amount of money. Now think about that for a second. The plant decides they want to leave your region, your state, your area, because the workers demand that they make more money. They're going to go where they feel like they can exploit people the most. Guess who's supporting that sort of legislation? Let's not get this shit twisted. Even foreign automakers are making their cars here. Like I drive a Kia, man. My Kia was made in Georgia. It was designed in California, made in Georgia. So like even throwing that whole idea that like, yo, the cars are being made someplace else. No, you got foreign manufacturers making their cars here too. The thing is they're paying those workers less than the workers who are being unionized. So like, again, man, if you go right up here with this sort of shit, man, I'm gonna need you to get your facts straight. Also, as much as you talk about voting, you say it with a sense that you know how people are going to vote. And that if you tell them they just need to vote, they're going to vote the way you want them to. How are you going to feel when they take your voting advice and cast their ballots for Trump this year? Get off your high horse, man. You think you know everything and you don't. And it's quite clear that you have a problem with strong black men who want strong policy to benefit us. It's not too late for you to get off that cone train. So I'm gonna just say this here too, man. And this is a running theme. It seems like with all of you types, the idea that you know, I have a problem with black men. No, I don't have a problem with black men, man. I have a problem with black men with platforms who speak irresponsibly towards the needs of the community. I have a problem with black men who have a problem with legislation being geared towards other people within the black community that just happen not to be black men. So when Ice Cube was presenting his contract for Black America, when asked about whether or not he consulted with any black women, and coming up with that contract, he had a paltry answer, which was essentially no. He didn't consult with any black women in consulting in coming up with that contract with Black America. So Ice Cube and to some extent Killer Mike, when he met with George, what's his name, Brian Kemp, like connected with him as a Southern man. Like let's keep this a buck, man. Like it's a lot of brothers who are like putting themselves in the position as if they're speaking for the black community, and they're not. They're speaking for their segment of black men, and that's it. And if you're going to be speaking for black people, you should be including the voices, and you should be including the perspectives of all black people. Don't get up there talking about you speaking for black people, and the only people you really giving a fuck about is just black men. Straight black men to like be real clear, because like when you start talking about like you mad at the LGBTQ community for getting gay marriage, like let's keep this a buck. Let's keep this a buck, man. Y'all don't give a fuck about the rest of the community. Y'all give a fuck just about your little sliver of blackness. And so if you're going to be just talking about your little sliver of blackness, say that. Don't say you're talking about the rest of us, because you're not. You're not, man. That's my problem. And so when Umar Johnson gets up and says some stupid shit, when y'all let like gang / pimp / comedian / whatever the fuck he's calling himself now, historian, Tariq Nasheed put out historical films full of bullshit information, when y'all like elevate motherfuckers like Ice Cube, who's giving you the most rudimentary motherfucking voting advice, when you elevate those sorts of voices, when those sorts of voices say something stupid and they have the ability to influence thousands, millions even, yeah, I got a problem with that. And I'm going to say something. And if anybody can say something about the shit, damn it, it's me as a black man who lives in this shit every day, who deals with the consequences of this legislation every day in ways that they don't anymore. Right? So yeah, man. That's been our listener feedback. But we got